F sharp, A sharp, revisited.
Hello everyone and welcome to F sharp A sharp revisited. The
Heyo.
music. Hi Nick.
I'm here too.
Yeah, Nick's here too. He's a man in search of the lost chord. Apparently, according to my notes, he is. You found it yet?
No.
No. Got any clues?
Well, seeing as I spent too long this week listening to the new Taylor Swift album, I think I was searching in the wrong direction.
Yeah, I don't think there are any chords in some of her songs. I'm a music critic supervillain, and as you probably already know, we're going to talk a little bit about Taylor Swift.
I thought you were going to describe me as a music critic supervillain as well this week, seeing as
Was
how
I?
much I've decided I hate music now.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, Nick's the music critic supervillain. I guess I'm the person in search of the lost chord. I think it begins with G sharp, but I haven't figured out the rest of it. But I think just before we jump into the Taylor Swift section, I just want to read a headline that I saw in The Guardian titled, "Taylor Swift's reputation. Will her new album silence her critics?" I think this is where we throw our heads back in laughter. Oh bloody hell! Okay, where do you want to start with this?
I want you to start with describing to me who Taylor Swift is and why we should care.
Okay, so Taylor Swift started off as a country pop singer who my sister quite liked. That's probably an irrelevant detail, but that's how I knew her. And then she got a bit famous, and then she started doing more mainstream pop, and she's a bit of a, pop star because she likes a bit of drama. I really don't care about all the celebrity stuff. I don't particularly like her music. That's about as much context as you're going to get from me.
Okay, well, the album's about 55 minutes long, 15 tracks.
Mm-hmm.
It's her, I think, seventh release.
Yeah.
First one since her 2014 real hit album, 1989, which people seem to love. So we're going to talk about her new album, Reputation. We've already talked about the first two singles from it, Look What You Made Me Do and Ready For It.
Can I just say about Ready For It, I don't think I quite accentuated on the first time we talked about it exactly how much of a lolcow that song is.
It's
so funny. Are you ready for it? Bwam, bwam, bwam. What's not hilarious about that?
But that bwam makes up the chorus, because the actual chorus of the song is really hollow and sounds like a pre-chorus. So she's leading up to the big euphoric moment, which is bwam, bwam, bwam.
It's like, are you ready for it? Can you handle it? You know what it is? It's the same note 3 times in a row. And then just something that really annoys me about that song as well is her extra note at right at the last chorus, she does an extra high note, and it's so cliche. That song is, oh dear me, it's a bit of a train wreck.
That song is sort of every cliche in the book, isn't it?
Yeah,
and
all thrown into one.
We also talked about Look What You Made Me Do, which in my notes is the first song to ever get a double negative mark.
Ooh.
Because it's that bad, and the only notes I've made are the word horse and the word shit.
To be honest, there's something about Look What You Made Me Do that I appreciate the kind of so bad that I get amusement out of it factor.
Oh, there's another song on this album that gives me that, but I'll tell you about it in a bit.
Okay. Where do you want to go from there?
I want to go by saying that I quite like this album.
Okay.
Didn't expect that, did you?
I didn't expect that.
And that's because I'm lying through my teeth. This album's really not very good.
Okay.
Let's start with the lyrics, because throughout this album they are train wreck terrible.
Yeah, the thing that gets me about Taylor Swift is that it's her personality that she portrays in her music that it just grates on my head so much. Like, I don't like saying that I dislike or hate musicians or anything like that, but when the personality she projects is so unbearably terrible, it's just difficult to listen to.
There's a line in Endgame which is, I swear I don't love the drama, it loves me. Biggest fucking lie. I'm going to go all out swearing on this podcast because this she makes me angry.
Yeah, we'll have to put a note at the beginning, just say very explicit. But I love drama. She loves the drama.
She does.
She loves it. She
100%
relishes in
loves
it.
the drama.
She's, she's like a pig in a pigsty, and the mud is the drama. She's just all over it.
Well, now that we're a bit into the podcast, I thought that we'd start off this review section with a bit of fun. So, we've mentioned that the lyrics are some of the worst ever. I want you to give me any song from the album, and I will tell you the worst lyric from it.
Okay, ooh, this looks like fun. I did something bad.
I never trust a narcissist, but they love me, so I play 'em like a violin, and I make it look so easy, because for every lie I tell them, they tell me free.
Yeah, I noted those lyrics down as well. Oh, and I also, from that song as well, they say I did something bad, then why does it feel so good? It's just, oh.
I hate her personality. Give me another one.
So do I. Okay, let's go with Dancing with Our Hands Tied.
Oh, I loved you in spite of deep fears that the world would divide us, so baby can we dance, oh through an avalanche. And say that we got it, I'm a mess, but I'm the mess that you wanted, oh, 'cause it's gravity, oh, keeping you with me.
Oh, it's Gravity. To be honest, I picked that one because I thought that song had the least offensive lyrics, so let's, okay. This is why we can't have nice things.
And here's to you, 'cause forgiveness is a nice thing to do, haha, I can't even say it with a straight face. Grow up, you swine.
Oh, bloody hell. Okay, ooh. Gorgeous.
You should think about the consequence of your magnetic field being a little too strong.
Yeah, I noted that lyric down as well. And also from that song, you've ruined my life by not being mine. Oh, Okay,
Let's have one more.
Let's have one more, and then I want to talk a little bit about my favourite song of the album. So let's go with Call It What You Want.
My castle crumbled overnight. I brought a knife to a gunfight. They took the crown, but it's alright. All the liars are calling me one.
And she says she doesn't like drama. She
loves the drama.
She loves it. I'm just going to make a note of my favourite song at the moment, which was Getaway Car. And this song annoyed me so much because, again, it's just her personality. Because in this song, she's like saying she's in a relationship because, of course, she is, and she's no longer in like feeling it for the guy that she's with. And so, what does she do? In the song, she says it's all his fault without ever saying a reason why. Then she takes the car and all their money and then just leaves him in a motel. And I'm just like, Taylor, do you want to come across like a massive twat? And that was the best.
This is your favourite song.
That was the best song on the album, in my opinion.
I kind of really like Getaway Car, and it's because the lyrics are so terrible they're incredible, and the song is repetitive, but in a really laughable way because of how much conviction she sings the lyrics with. And I mean, it's not terribly composed; it's just really fun with how bad it is.
Yeah, it's kind of got a bit...
The first time I listened to it, I was on the way to work. I went into Sainsbury's to get some lunch for the day, and that song came on my iPod, and I was listening to the lyrics, and I burst into laughter in the middle of Sainsbury's, and I believe I messaged you like 5 minutes later saying, Joe, I can't wait to hear your opinion on the lyrics of this song. Because I was riding in a getaway car, I was crying in a getaway car, I was dying in a getaway car, said goodbye in a getaway car.
Well, the thing is, Taylor, you didn't have to leave in a getaway car. No one made you. It was you who did it. See, it's just I can't stand the pettiness of that.
Okay, I'll say what my favourite song on the album is, and this is actually the only one I've given a positive mark to, which is the third single, Gorgeous. I really like this song.
Okay, well...
And I think part of the reason I like it is because of something she's unintentionally done with it, which is when I was listening to the lyrics, I was convinced that she's singing about a girl rather than her current boyfriend. Because some of the lines like, you make me so happy it turns back to sad, there's nothing I hate more than what I can't have, which, you know, kind of... in the way that she means it, I'm sure it's not great. And I'm so furious at you for making me feel this way. I get really, really strong sort of homosexual undertones in those lines. And I think it's far more interesting than having her sing about just a man.
I think that's...
I also think that it's quite bubbly, it's catchy, and I know it's pretty cliche, but it's difficult for me not to love it.
Yeah, my one note on that song, apart from the lyrics that I didn't like, was what a terrible song. So As kind of, that might be you reading into the song like I read
Oh
into
yeah,
the Katy Perry.
I'm sure she doesn't
song.
mean the way I'm
Yeah.
interpreting it, but I mean, art is made great by the way that people interpret it. So.
Yeah, and you know what? I won't take that away from you, Nick. You know, we need to get what we can out of this album.
Okay, well, I don't think the album's as bad as I thought it was going to be, and that's mostly because this sort of, hard-ass Taylor Swift coming your way vibe she was trying to do with her first two singles is absent for most of the album.
Yeah, it's
I
not-
mean, that's
yeah.
definitely a good thing, but at the same time, it does sort of portray her morals that she's been trying to force on us. So you couldn't even stick to that, Taylor.
Yeah.
You're just a mess.
The only good thing I have to say about this album is that she does make an effort to work in the theme of her reputation on quite a few tracks. So I give that to her. I just can't get past her personality. I really can't. And I do say that kind of with respect. There are some things I do respect about her as an artist, but I just can't get behind her at all with the music.
There's not much to say on the album, honestly. I think, apart from the songs we've mentioned, most of them are just incredibly
Yeah.
forgettable, especially in the final third of the album.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, they're just...
And even on the tracks where she's brought in guest slots, which, you know, a good guest slot can always make a song far better. But not if you're using Ed Sheeran
Yeah.
and Future doing just some
I
of
was-
the
I
most
was-
uninspired vocal work I've ever heard.
I was just going to say, I thought Future's verse was very vanilla, but it flowed, and then Neddy's verse was also very vanilla, but it didn't flow quite as quite as well. She
There are
needs to
some
get a
really
grip, yeah.
bizarre composition choices on this, mostly in the song I Did Something Bad. During the chorus, there's this sort of really wavy synth that comes in, but quite
Yeah.
distorted, and it sounds so uncomfortable. And then at the end of the chorus, she does this weird staccato vocalization with this really strong distortion on the synth, and it just makes me feel kind of ill.
Yeah, there was quite a lot of that towards the start of the album. There was either some plucky or maybe kind of classical inspired instrumentation that would then kind of go into a low-key dubstep version. I noticed that on Don't Blame Me and on I Did Something Bad. It didn't... I mean, I didn't think it was necessarily terrible, but it did feel like it was very much trying to wave the current wave of pop. I give this album a 2 out of 10.
I'll give it a strong 3, I think, personally.
three.
Ready
Didn't
for
do
it? Nope, this album's crap. Endgame sure is. End of pop music. I did something bad. Yes, you did. Don't blame me. Yes, I will. Look what you made me do. I wish you hadn't. Gorgeous. Not this album. Getaway car. I need one to get away from this album. This album is why we can't have nice things.
And then final song, New Year's Day. I will be very glad to put this on my end of year's worst list and then carry on with my damn life.
Let's move on very quickly.
Let's move on very quickly to something that at least I thought was good. I don't know Nick's opinion yet.
So these past 2 weeks, there hasn't been that much come out we want
Not
to
an
talk
awful lot.
about. I mean, Maroon 5, Joji, I think, had a new album. I think Billy Ray Cyrus might have had an album.
Yeah, but I
You
don't
know,
really
we're
care.
already
Yeah.
having to talk about Taylor Swift, so
It's like we need to keep it under wraps. With all
so
the
we're going to
pop
talk about
nonsense.
something that came out a couple of Fridays ago, just in time for the last podcast, but we had already stocked our roster. So, Big K.R.I.T, Forever is a
Yeah.
Mighty Long Time. Mississippi rapper / producer. This is his third studio album. It's a double album, 22 tracks, 85 minutes. I thought this would be a good time to discuss the concept of the double album.
Okay.
In this age of digital music, how do you listen to a double album? I mean, when it's on a CD, you have to go through taking the CD out, putting it back in, so it feels like a separate experience. With this, because it was in my iTunes, it was all sort of one continuous flow.
Yeah, it was. Well, that's
So
the thing.
do you approach double albums in this day and age as if they were one album or as if they're two?
I try to listen to it as though it's one album, but I do appreciate that with this one, I do think Big K.R.I.T was going for kind of two different sides to his personality. With this album, I'm not sure how strongly that came across. I mean, it did a bit, but I wouldn't say too strongly. But yeah, just listen to it all the way through. which can be a bit difficult when you're kind of used to kind of 50-minute albums, and this is like nearly 1.5 hours or
Yeah.
however long it is. Just one point I kind of want to get out of the way is that because of the big length of double albums, sometimes I struggle to find time. And when I listen to a double album, I often just kind of automatically start thinking about halfway through, like what songs could have been cut to make this a shorter but better experience.
I feel the same way.
And I do feel, even though I do like a lot of tracks on this album, that there are some weaker tracks that you could have taken out seven or eight tracks and you could have made 50 minutes of like pretty much gold, I thought. So
because there are some truly fantastic tracks on this album.
Oh, definitely.
So, like we've said, it's split into two halves. The first one, the first CD is supposed to be called Big Crit. Second one, Justin Scott. So the two sides of his personality.
Yeah.
And the first half is definitely more hip hop. The second half, sort of more soul/jazz infused. And it's an awfully daunting listen if you just look at the 22 tracks in front of you. I listened to the first 4 tracks of this album and was immediately hooked. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember what happened for the next, 40 minutes or so.
Yeah, well, I think that's kind of what happens when you've got an album of such length. You know, the start hooks you just because it is easier to remember.
Yeah.
It's at the start, but then even though I've listed some really good tracks in the middle, it can get a bit difficult to remember, you know, everything that goes on.
For me, I went back and listened to it multiple times, starting from different points in the album, so I wasn't just getting the same things I remembered again and again. And actually, I do think the first 4 tracks on the album are incredibly good. And then the majority of the middle, I just don't care for. I think if it was going to go on a trend, on some sort of line graph, it would start at the top, and as it got to the middle, it would reach its nadir.
Yeah.
And as it got to the end, it would go back up to the same levels as the beginning.
Yeah. Now that you've said that, I will say that 2 of my favourite tracks on the album are tracks number 2 and 4. Should we just get into some of the tracks? Because I thought Subbenstein was such a cool song.
Yeah, Subbenstein's brilliant.
I love the just the electronic effects, the way they're worked into the song, and it's come alive. it's so, you know, it has that kind of tongue-in-cheek element, but it sounds like really dense. It sounds kind of haunting. It just works so nice as a sound.
Yeah. Like I said, the first 4 tracks for me are some of the best. Big Crit, Confetti, Big Bang, Subbenstein. It's just so much great energy through all the tracks. Brilliant performances, killer beats, great lines.
Yeah.
Then I just don't remember a lot of the rest of the tracks up until Mixed Messages, Keep the Devil Off, and Miss Georgifornia.
Keep the devil off. Sorry, I got that in my head.
Those are all my least favourite tracks on the album. I think they're all pretty repetitive. It's hard to get enthusiastic about them amongst the surrounding tracks. I think Miss Georgifornia has got one of the most annoying hooks I've heard this year on it.
Okay, so I really liked Miss Georgifornia. I really got sucked into the emotion of that track about someone moving on, you know, from their hometown. Like I really felt the pull of wanting to go on to greater things, and then kind of the pull of the hometown as well. I thought that came across really strongly.
This is going to lead into another point I had about the album, which is I think that Justin Scott clearly has a lot to say throughout the album, but it just gets lost in the sheer scope of the album.
Yeah.
I really wish it had been either released as 2 albums at a separate time when I could process them more effectively, or if it had been cut down, like you said.
Yeah, because what I actually did in Spotify was like just drag the whole album across and then just took out all the tracks that I thought were the weaker tracks. It went down to 55 minutes, and I listened through just the ones that I really liked, I think twice or so, and to me that was just amazing. And then all the tracks I liked, kind of, they jumped out that bit more. So
I should try that, because there are good tracks on this album. I haven't talked about the other 4 tracks I love, which are the final 4 tracks: Price of Fame, Drinking Sessions, The Light, and Bury Me in Gold. I think it's a really strong end to the album. It contrasts really well with the start of the album. It's great bringing the energy down. I think it's got some of the best lyrics at the end of the album, especially in Bury Me in Gold and Price of Fame. I can't think of a combination of genres that works better than hip-hop and jazz.
Hip-hop and jazz work so well, and I thought specifically in The Light, that's probably my favourite of the second disc. The Robert Glasper's instrumentation with the jazz band was so
It's
Good.
just,
I mean, I
yeah,
like
lush.
jazz anyway. I'm a huge jazz fan. If you can make jazz sound nice, then I'm just away with it.
Well, I think that the spoken word ending to Bury Me in Gold may be one of the best parts of the entire album. I think it really sticks out in my mind, and it's glorious.
Yeah.
But like I've said, these first four tracks and these last four tracks, 8 tracks out of 22, the rest
Okay.
just sort of passed me by.
Well, I'll say the tracks that I liked in the middle section because there were some. I thought Aux Chord was a lovely song, great, just a great feel of reminiscence.
See, that just reminds me of the aux chord meme,
Yeah.
and I can't get over that.
Well, I did try to make one of those with Kid A, but people are tired of me talking about that album, so
That's because it's not as good as OK
it's
Computer.
way better than OK Computer.
At least it's better than In Rainbows.
True, but
You know what else is better than In Rainbows? Moonshaped Pool.
No.
You know what else is a double album? In Rainbows.
No, it isn't, Nick.
It is.
We've been through this.
It's a double album.
It is not a double album.
Yes, it is.
It is an album that has, and
2 discs.
Radiohead has
Double
released
album.
an EP called In Rainbows Part 2, which isn't
is
part of In
double album,
Rainbows.
like I said.
We're supposed to be talking about Big Crit, Nick.
Well, we'll always have time to detour to talk about why In Rainbows isn't as good as everyone says it is. Okay, full disclaimer. I think that In Rainbows is a solid, strong 7 out of 10, maybe. Verging on an 8. It's not a bad album at all. It's just not the strong 9 that everyone seems to think it is.
Okay.
Let's talk about Big Crit.
Let's talk about Big Crit. I mean, yeah, I liked Layup, I liked Miss Georgiafornia, I liked the opening track to the second disc, Justin Scott. So I liked quite a lot of tracks on the album.
I'm going to say this is probably... Well, actually, no. I was going to say it's probably my least favourite hip-hop album we've listened to this year. But no, Wu-Tang Clan is definitely my least favourite hip-hop album we've listened to this year. And this isn't a bad album. It's just, I think you could, like you said, have cut it down quite a lot. And I think it would have worked either as 2 separate albums released at different times or just one
just quite a
shorter
substantial
album.
single
I'd
album.
give this a strong 6.
Because if it was cut down in the way that I said it would, I think it could easily be a 9 out of 10. As it is, like, I don't want to be too disrespectful because I do think a lot of work has been put into the album, and the highlights I think are really good, especially the jazzier sections towards the end, and then Confetti and Subinstein I thought were just great hip hop tracks. So I think I'll just give it a 7 for now.
Could go up, could go down.
Well, it depends how lenient I want to be, so...
Is it as good as In Rainbows?
No.
You sure?
Very funny, Nick, very funny.
A couple of weeks ago now, my current favourite TV show ended, for now. On Dave, there is a TV series called Taskmaster, which I think is one of the funniest things. It's hosted by Alex Horne and Greg Davies, and each season a different set of 5 comedians across the course of the series are made to compete against each other in bizarre tasks, like playing golf with eggs, and if you smash an egg you get extra points added on to your handicap, or make this coconut look like a businessman. My favourite one is destroy this cake in the most amazing way possible. Noel Fielding put it in a washing machine. It was wonderful. So this latest series had Nish Kumar and Mark Watson, and they were both either terrible or awkward at the task they did. But then in the final episode, they got given the task, here's a woman, you have 10 minutes to find out as much as you can about her, and then 30 minutes to write a song about her. And they made a song which was just so good considering how bad at things they are.
Yeah.
Really catchy, really kind of sweet. And I decided that I would take it upon myself to cover it.
Nah.
It's called Always Seeing You, open brackets, do cool stuff, close brackets, and here it is. Oh yeah, I saw you translate a poem from Japanese. It looks so tricky, but you did it with ease. I saw you judging long jump at the athletics. I felt so low cause it's bored, I'm just pathetic. I'm always seeing you do cool stuff. I try my best, but it's never good enough. saw you watch the Hangover DVD, but I was busy with the Hangover puppetry. I saw you listening to the Mozart Symphony, but my attention span is, hey, look at that tree. I'm always seeing you do cool stuff. I try my best, but it's never good enough. Serve you beans on toast, that it's a fantasy, it's nothing but a boast. You come from Southport, I live miles away in Ballon, and I'm a coward and I fear the wrath of Alan. Always seeing you do cool stuff. I try my best, but it's never good enough. I'm always seeing you do cool stuff. I'm always seeing you do cool stuff. I try my best, but it's never good enough. Good enough. And now I'm talking again.
Wasn't that amazing, everyone?
Yes. It took me a very long time to do.
It was amazing.
I hope you especially like the bass line, Joe.
Yeah, I haven't actually heard it yet, so...
No, it just played 5 seconds ago, Joe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Were you not listening again?
I went deaf.
Probably thinking about Kid A.
I always think about Kid A.
Let's move on to some more music.
Yes. New Converge album.
New Converge album.
Dusk In Us.
A pretty legendary American metalcore band. 9th studio album, 13 tracks, 44 minutes. Came out last week, and they're a 4-piece band from Massachusetts. And this band, I've listened to Jane Doe before, considered to be their best album, and thought that it was really disappointing. Did not care for it. Thought that the vocals were kind of laughably bad, the production was terrible, and it was just sort of chaos for chaos's sake. And then I listened to this one, and it's good for me. Better than Jane Doe, which is surprising considering how much acclaim that album gets. And I thought, hey, I like this. I'll include it in the podcast so that Joe can talk about how much he hates the shouty vocals. So, Joe, how much do you hate the shouty vocals?
I don't hate them all of the time.
You just hate them when they're loud.
I hate them... Okay, let's talk about the first track then, because
It's great.
I thought they really... That track. It was when the instrumentation slightly fades out and then they're shouting the most cliched lyrics, as a single teardrop fell and was swallowed by the sea, and it's so grandiose and obnoxious. I just put my head in my hand and I was just like, no, is every song going to be like this? Luckily not all of them were, but oh no, I thought the opening track was the weakest track, and I think the worst offender of that.
Thought it was fine.
Okay.
No problems with. Okay, actually, the lyrics are my main problem with this album, but not the way that you're suggesting they're bad. I don't think.
I think the lyrics, on the whole, are very bloated. There are some decent ones, I will admit, but on the whole, I thought were very bloated. I mean, the lyrics to Merc and Marrow. Exodus of Eden led by convenience, the Merc and Marrow are all that we know. When the luster is gone and life loses fight, nothing will escape the slipping of time. Wow. Try getting your head around those. It's filled with a lot of self-importance without a whole lot of substance.
Oh, you know what other album this year's like that? Planetarium.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Let's move on. So my problem with the lyrics is that Converge are known for being just incredibly aggressive and just there's so much detail in their chaos, but for the most part their lyrics have been pretty just hardcore, I guess is a good way to describe them. And here I just think they're a bit weird because they sort of focus on this idea of sort of self-preservation and self-improvement, I guess. And the way he delivers them, I don't think really works with what the lyrics are saying, even though I think the lyrics on their own are generally pretty good. It's hard to take too much out of the album from that because, I mean, the way he's singing, it means you have to go and, look up the lyrics afterwards unless you have a really keen ear.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just I listened to the album the first time and thought it was pretty great. Then looked up the lyrics afterwards and was a bit confused.
Yeah, because there is the song Wildlife, which is very much about being sympathetic towards kind of hunted animals, which I thought the lyrics were fine, but it does seem a little bit weird with this very
Yeah.
aggressive music.
Well, that's pretty much my only problem. Well, no, that's not my only problem with the album. That's my main problem with the album. For the most part, I think that nearly every track feels completely necessary, and the pace of the album is pretty excellent. Every song is incredibly tightly structured, with so much ridiculous amounts of detail within them. It's kind of a pleasure to listen to. I think that A Single Tear is a fantastic opening track. It's got such killer melodies and structure, and then it's ramped up even more by Eye of the Quarrel, the following track, which is just the best opening drums of any song I've heard for a while.
Yeah.
And I think it just continues from there. The momentum doesn't really let up until the title track of the album, which is meant to be the sort of centre point, and that's where I think there's a bit of a problem.
See, that's probably my favourite track on the album.
I think the ghostly tones of it are pretty cool,
Yeah.
but I don't like the vocals in it. I think that they're really bored and lackluster. They don't come across in the creepy way I think they try to.
I'd have to listen to it again.
It's got this post-metal atmosphere which can be done really well, but here it's a little underwhelming after you've had so much intensity from the rest of the album. And I think the song's just a bit too much of a juxtaposition to the surrounding tracks.
Okay. Like I think it's true that it is a juxtaposition against the surrounding tracks, and I don't think it's supposed to be as, what's the word I'm looking for?
Kid A.
We need to stop talking about Radiohead, Nick. It's not quite as thrustful as the rest of the tracks on the album, and that's not the point of the song. It's supposed to be, I mean, at least what I got out of it was a very lethargic, slow, but quite creepy, quite eerie piece of music that's supposed to kind of get into your ears with its atmosphere and just sit there and creep you out for a little bit. I don't think it was supposed to have that same catharsis like the rest of the tracks are trying to deliver.
Possibly.
So I don't know. I appreciated it on from what it gave me. So we'll just disagree on that one, I think.
As far as the other tracks go, I think they're all pretty strong. Especially my favourite being Trigger, just because I think it sounds like a Disney villain metalcore song, which I love. And the bass tone in it is absolutely throttling.
Nick probably could have guessed that would be my other favourite track just because bass line.
Yeah.
Let's get it in. It's so
and
cool.
Jacob Bannon yelling, "Was it worth it?" gives me such chills. But then after that, the only other song that I'll have, because I think they're all of a pretty high standard. There's a lot of highs, but they're all sort of consistent highs. So there's not any that I really want to pick out. The only other one I want to mention is Reptilian, which is the closing track, which I think almost works as a closer, but there are these faster passages scattered throughout the song that ruin its flow.
Yeah, it does feel much like at the end of that song there's a big intense burst at the end, but it doesn't quite feel like you wanted it to go long enough as you want it to for a closer.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't a bad song at
No,
all. But
not at all, but
yeah.
I think in an album of so many highs, it is a definite low for me. Well, I think that this album is, I mean, it's totally ferocious. If you're weak of heart, then I wouldn't listen to it. I think that as far as composition goes, I think Converge don't go too wrong here.
See, I just thought there were a couple of tracks that were a little bit too messy. I mean, they were technically quite fine, but I didn't really get anything out of them personally. I thought Merc and Marrow didn't do anything for me. I think Archipov Calm didn't do anything for me. Cannibals didn't do anything for me. But
I'd agree on Cannibals a bit, but Arc Above Calm I think is one of the best songs. The syncopated drums and guitar are absolutely insane.
Yeah, one point I should make is that the drums are pretty much, well, I thought they were the best element in the instrumentation. They're pretty great throughout, I thought.
They are.
But yeah, my favourite tracks were The Dusk in Us, Trigger, and Broken by Light.
Well, my favourite, I'll say, are a single tier: Eye of the Quarrel, Archipov Calm, and Trigger. And then least favourites are The Dusk in Us and Reptilian.
Okay, I think that's fair enough.
I give it a strong 7.
I give it, I think I give it a decent 5 out of 10.
It's better than you giving it a 3, I guess. Though it's definitely not a 5. You know what else is a 5 in Rainbows? Let's carry on before Joe explodes.
I know you've been trying my patience, Nick.
Got one more album to talk about.
One more album. Yeah, Blue Rose Code, fairly not well known band.
Depends what circle you're in.
Depends what circle you're in.
I knew
yeah.
of Blue Rose Code.
Okay, that's fair enough. I didn't.
Then again, I am quite a strong fan of the UK folk scene, so...
So yeah, they released an album, The Waters of Leith. It was a couple of weeks ago on the 27th of October, but when I saw it, I decided to give it a listen, and it's one of those albums that I don't care what anyone else has to say about it. This album I thought was pure therapy for me.
Okay, I won't say anything then. How about you just talk for a few minutes about why you think it's great?
I thought it was great. I thought it sounded gorgeous. The production was amazing, especially on the more languid and relaxing tracks like Passing Places and To the Shore, where every instrument can be heard so clearly and dynamically, and it really helps bring out the luxuriant harmonies, which are so often a blend of folk and jazz at the same time, which is a very nice, interesting touch for both the harmonies and the textures in the album. So that's something I really enjoyed. You can say things if you want to, Nick.
Okay, I get that a lot of people have mentioned the sort of jazzy tones throughout the album, the influences that come in and mix with the folk, but I only noticed them towards the end, starting with the track Polaris, which I believe is about 3/4 of the way through, which I was a little disappointed by, because I think that track worked incredibly well with the jazzy tones. I would have liked to see them a bit more throughout. Just generally, they may have worked a bit better and dispersed throughout the album rather than being left all to the end.
I don't think they were left all to the end. Bluebell had such a lovely jazzy soprano saxophone solo in it. It worked so lovely. I didn't
notice it as being that jazzy. I just felt like it played right into the folk side of it.
Then you've got Nashville Blue with its lovely saxophone bringing the jazzy feel. I think a lot of it does come from the saxophone playing being quite jazzy throughout those tracks, and Ebb and Flow definitely had that kind of slightly ragtime jazzy piano as well. I mean, if you didn't register with you,
I can't tell you you're wrong in this situation. You can't tell me I'm wrong. Well, one thing I have to say, you recommended this album wholeheartedly to me when you said let's have this on the podcast, and I listened to it, and you have. I don't want to say this in an insulting way, but you have somewhat dismissed the genre of folk before when I have played you various songs by folk artists, and I find it a bit hard to see why this has appealed to you so much compared to things from other artists from the genre.
Okay, I don't think I have necessarily been dismissive of other folk artists. I think you'd need to give me an example for me to kind of come back to that.
Listening to this album, I got vibes of Jim Murray, Scott Matthews, Brayback, Oyster Band. I think that there's a lot of variety on this album, but there's nothing that's hugely original. I feel like a lot of the things that he does could be traced back to other artists, and I don't know whether I've played you all of them or some of them or none of them before, but I think that a lot of what he does on this album can be found elsewhere and possibly done a bit better. Not to say that I don't like this album. I think there's a lot to admire about it.
Okay, so the appeal of this album to me was how he worked in the jazz elements and balance them against the folk elements. And I think if you didn't register, I mean, if it didn't come across to you how those elements work together, then maybe you just wouldn't see the
Possibly.
appeal of the album. But to me, it was really engaging. And
Because when I did get them coming across towards the end of the album, I thought they worked really well.
yeah,
But it just happens, I guess, that I didn't notice them earlier on.
okay, but for me, the appeal of this album was it was like I said at the start of this section is to me this is a therapy album where I will put this on and I will sit back and just enjoy the gorgeousness of it. I just because jazz is a genre that I love so much for its harmonies, its structures, its loose structures, its loose phraseology, and that comes across so well in this album as well. And just being framed that little bit differently gave it something that I really liked.
Okay. I'm glad that you like the album so much.
Okay.
Well, I did like this album a lot. It is, like you said, it is very therapeutic to listen to, though I think that for different reasons than to what you think, I guess. I think that the lyrics throughout are pretty good,
Yeah.
strong
Yeah.
quality. I think the vocals are pretty gorgeous as well, and the performances in general are kind of great.
Yeah.
And the album is generally well paced. I do think that the variety does help in that
Yeah.
sense. But like I said, I can trace all of the influences back to other artists who I think might have done them better.
Okay. That's fair.
I'll talk about a couple of tracks that I really liked first, though. So, Over the Fields, the opening track, I think is one of the most beautiful things I've heard this year. It's
Yeah.
just, it sends me into a sort of relaxation trance. It's
It really sets the mood for the
you
album
can,
in that way.
if you lie down and you close your eyes, you can picture yourself elsewhere just through the tones of the song.
Yeah.
And I'd say the same goes for To the Shore, which I think is the best combination of jazz and folk on the album.
Yeah. Shall I go with my favourites
Yeah,
now?
I'll go for your first
Yeah.
before I tell you my least favourite.
Yeah, I loved Bluebell. The texture of that song, in fact, reminded me, I don't know if you know the album, but A World of Pandemonium by The Hiatus, to me, is one of the most, at least the first half of that album, it goes a bit bad towards the end, but the first half of that album has some of the most kind of vibrant and interesting textures I've ever heard in alternative rock, and that song really reminded me of that in the way just the whirring guitars go under this kind of upbeat but low-key drums, and the flute and the violin and saxophone all work in their own different spheres as well, just creating like it's like a whirlpool of sound, but it sounds beautiful at the same time. So yeah, that's something I enjoyed. My favorite track was The Water. I love jazz, so of course I like that one. The piano playing on that track is nothing short of spectacular, and the other parts as well, the violin and the saxophone all worked really well as well. To the Shore was another highlight for me, just because on that track there is a change of tone for the album. There is inflections of the harmonic minor, which just adds, it's never too abrasive, but it just adds that little bit of oomph towards the end of the album, which I thought it was placed really nicely there. So I would say those three are my best tracks of the album.
You want to hear my least favourite?
Yeah.
You're not going to like what my least favourite is.
Yes, I know what you're going to say, Nick.
My least favourite track is The Water. I think that it's really indulgent and it loses my interest. And while I do appreciate the piano playing in it is top notch, I think that the fact that it's so sort of washy, it's not something I want to listen to.
Nick has not quite yet acquired the taste for freeform jazz.
I like freeform jazz. I just think in this situation, it's not free enough. I think it's kind of, because it's meant to sound so sort of ethereal, it is meant to be relaxing, I think. It doesn't work.
Oh, I think it does.
And that's
Okay.
your opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that's fair. I mean, I do have two least favourite tracks. My least favourite is probably Love Is.
It is a bit standard,
It's a
but I
bit
don't
standard.
mind that.
I mean, I don't mind. To be honest, I don't dislike any of the tracks. It just is my least favourite. The lyrics are very John Lennon. Love will save us all. But you know what? I think it's fine, and it does work for the momentum of the album. And then I'd say the same for Ebb and Flow. It's another one of the more upbeat tracks, so it does kind of work with the flow of the album, but it just didn't do it for me the same as the other tracks did.
Fair enough. I'd say this album, I did like it, but, and I'll leave it at that, I'd give it a strong 7, light 8.
I say I love this album. I really do. I'd give it. I I will give it. I will give it a 9. I will
Yay.
give it a 9 because there were so many things I loved about it. And I do think the marriage of folk and jazz in this album did come across incredibly well. It was very deftly put together. So yes, I'll give it a 9.
It's going to be in your top five at the end of the year, along with Planetarium and Bjork and
Tiger Lilies probably
Tiger
depends if
Lilies.
it gets displaced. We'll see.
And then either, I don't know what's coming out the rest of the year, but at the moment I'd say also either The National or Fleet Foxes? I don't know.
Fleet
You like that
Foxes.
a lot.
I did like it a lot. Probably not for my. It'll be in my top 20. Probably not top 5. Maybe top 10. We'll see. That's a list I'll have to get started on. I think.
I'll tell you what album wouldn't be in my top five if it came out this year.
Yes, I know, Nick.
Hey, we got through the main reviews.
Yay!
Let's talk about, well, Joe will talk about.
I'll talk about a few things I'll listen to. So,
'Cause I didn't get a chance to. I've listened to the first track from the new Stereophonics album.
yeah, the new Stereophonics album was a little by the by, to be honest. It was
I
quite
very much got that impression from the first track.
from the first track, but to be honest, I just wanted to shout it out. It's called Screams of the Sounds. I wanted to shout it out because there were two tracks that I did very much enjoy on it. So if people kind of like the Stereophonics or just like a bit of pop rock, then these two tracks might be ones to check out. So the first is What's All the Fuss About, a very moody track that I thought made quite good use of the Andalusian cadence, and All in One Night, which has a very nice story and a very hypnotic guitar riff, which I very much enjoyed. So
What
okay.
about the new Maroon 5 album? Was that good? I bet it was wonderful.
I got through about 8 tracks. Did you get that way?
I didn't listen to it.
Oh, good for you. Okay, I don't know what else to say. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't put that on you, making you listen to Taylor Swift and Maroon 5 for the same podcast.
I did like what Anthony Fantano said, which was, I don't like that the 15-track version of the new Maroon 5 album is labelled as deluxe, because that implies that it's somehow preferable or superior to the version that has less tracks on
Yeah,
it.
you know what gets me about these extra length deluxe things is that because as a kind of a music commentator, I kind of feel obliged to listen to the deluxe, which is more tracks. It's like getting a fuller view of what the artist was trying to put out with their album. But so often,
Gorillaz.
it's oh.
Remember Gorillaz? Yeah, the last few
You know
tracks.
what? I actually didn't remember the Gorillaz, but then about a few weeks ago, I was looking through our podcast, seeing which ones we reviewed, and I was like, "Did Gorillaz actually what? They didn't release an album." That's definitely going on my most forgettable of 2017 list. But yeah, sorry, you were making a point, weren't you?
I might have been. And then I started talking about Gorillaz, and then I
Oh yeah, because they released a deluxe album.
yeah, that,
Just like I just think,
I just remember that the tracks that were deluxe on that just weren't worthwhile.
yeah. So, my opinion: don't make a deluxe album. Make one standard release of your album and make it good. Don't make it a deluxe. Don't make it a bloated double album.
Yeah,
make
yeah,
it...
like in Rainbows. Don't do that.
You little
You
smirker.
keep setting me up.
Okay. Moving on from. Actually, I do want to give it a special shout out to the new Kygo album. I don't know how well known they are, but I listened to it, and I think it was 2 podcasts ago I said Miley Cyrus was my least favorite album of the year.
Oh, has it been dethroned?
I think it might have been. I'll have to listen to it again, but I was listening to this Kygo album, and I was thinking, who the hell would listen to this?
Yeah, I'm glad that I've managed to avoid most of the terrible albums you're talking about this year, because my worst is still Katy Perry. And
I gave that a 3.
that's because you made me listen to that.
You know what? I think I should make you listen to it. Or what I should do is set you an assignment, maybe for an end of year podcast, just maybe like a quick 100, 200, or however long you want it to be, on why anyone would listen to this album, because it's kind of like a dance album. But it's so, and he puts this, I wish I knew what it was called, but he puts this effect over all of his songs that make him kind of like constantly fade in and out and in and out, and it just got so obnoxious to listen to after the 3rd track. I think it was only 8 tracks, and I had to listen to it in several chunks. My mind is fried.
I can't believe that Machine Gun Kelly has been dethroned twice.
twice, and his album, bloody hell, that's another one I'm gonna have to talk about at the end of year. So yeah, if someone has listened, if someone actually finds that album appealing, please let me know. I'm genuinely interested. One last shout out I want to give. I want to end on at least a somewhat positive note, and that's Willow Smith released an album, who's now stylizing herself as just Willow at the first, which I'm not saying it's a perfect album, but I was actually very impressed with it in terms of how she's matured from a songwriter. You know, we saw her whipping her hair back and forth. And then she released her debut album, which was very messy. Ardipithecus, I think it is. Yes, Ardipithecus. It was a bit messy. It wasn't necessarily kind of terrible, just kind of a bit all over the place and a bit disorganized. Like, coming into this album, I really wasn't expecting that much, but there was a lot that I appreciated on her new album. Did you get a chance to listen to it?
No. Like
Okay,
I said, I've only
yeah.
listened to the first track from the new Stereophonics album,
Okay.
and that was about 10 minutes before you arrived to do the podcast.
Okay, that's fair enough. So I'll just highlight my two favourite tracks on the new Willow album. The first one is the opening track, Boy, which made some really nice use of a combination of bowed and plucked strings, no drums or kind of other instrumentation as well. And she really made good use of the instruments that she had at hand in that song. Her vocals kind of reminded me of Marina and the Diamonds, which I thought was just an interesting stark contrast to
I do like Marina and the Diamonds.
So yeah, there's that. And then Lonely Road was another good song as well. So I think if you want some, I describe the kind of songwriting style as singer-songwriter. So if you're into that style, then I definitely recommend checking out Willow's new album.
Well, I think what we should do now is we should go back and look at the albums that we've just talked about, and we should go back to the duck analogy from a few podcasts ago.
You love shooting people, don't you?
I just think it's a fun thing to do, and we can't give them candy because it's not Halloween anymore.
Okay, but the thing is, we can't shoot Taylor Swift because she's been put in the gulag.
Yes.
She is in the, I mean, that means she's
in the
getting shot
gulag.
anyway, but...
Yeah.
So Taylor Swift, she's in the gulag. She's being prepared to be shown a holiday.
A duck holiday, or
A duck holiday. They get taken to the most beautiful blue lagoon, and and there's Nick with his sniper.
with my plum sauce at the ready.
Yeah. Oh, I love plum sauce so much. Anyway, we're not here to talk about food.
Let's not talk about eating Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
That's,
Ooh.
no.
No.
Let's not do that. Let's instead talk about Big Crit.
Big Crit.
Are you going to give him some crumbs?
I'm gonna give him some crumbs because there was a lot to appreciate about that album. So I'll throw some crumbs his way.
I think I will give him some crusts.
Oh, okay,
Some wholemeal bread crusts.
That's good.
I don't want to kill him with white bread.
That's true. That's a good point. I'll give him the special seeded, I think, wholemeal. Yeah.
Just a quick public service announcement: don't feed ducks white bread; it will kill them.
Yeah, not good.
Or at least if you do, let it hit the water first.
Does that make a difference?
Yeah, because ducks don't have saliva, so when they swallow the bread, it goes into their stomachs where it absorbs liquid and it expands and pushes their stomachs out and can cause their stomachs to split.
Right.
So you
okay.
want to make sure that the bread is either wet or it's already, moist enough. And white bread is the biggest problem. In fact, you shouldn't be feeding ducks bread at all. You should be feeding them seeds or celery.
Okay. Well, the more you know. Nick can feed
Is this
ducks.
a music podcast?
Nick can feed ducks all his celery because, to my knowledge, he hates the stuff.
Yeah, I hate celery.
Okay, and then it was Converge after that.
Converge. I'm going to give them a single slice of nice wholemeal bread.
What I'll do is I'll just point the gun in their direction and then just a couple of faux shots, I think. Just for the fun of it.
And then we've got Blue Rose Code Duck, who is swimming on the waters of Leith.
Yes, very true. And yeah, he's getting the top tier bread from me.
For me, I'm going to give him a slightly larger slice of nice wholemeal bread, but still only one.
So no ducks have died.
No.
Apart from
Taylor Swift is on her way.
Taylor, she will be dealt with.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, that's been our podcast.
Are you going to give Willow Smith any bread?
I think. Oh yeah, definitely.
A congratulatory
I'll make
bit.
Yeah, I think in fact I'll make her a sandwich
Oh, that's nice of you.
because I think she deserves it. She has come of age. So So yeah,
You know what time?
yeah, I did a short cover of one of her songs because I did like the song Lonely Road, but it also reminded me of something else that I can't put a finger on. So we're going to put that at the end of the podcast, and at us on Twitter if you think you know what it sounds like, because I can't think of what it is. Talking about atting us on Twitter, plug time.
Plug time.
Plug time.
Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on Podbean. Follow us on...
We're on all the podcatcher sites.
Yeah.
So whichever one you use.
On iTunes. That's so cool. It's
Yeah.
nice. We are... Genuinely, you can find us as F#A# revisited. I know it's sharp, but that's how it's written on a computer. Time to plug other people. Joe has got his YouTube channel, Mr. McTidge, which I would like to point out again that Oliver from Deep Cuts likes your videos, and I still think that's amazing.
You bring that up too much, Nick. I'm getting embarrassed.
Oh, I love Deep Cuts, though. He's the best.
Deep Cuts is great. I don't even know that he watches all of my videos.
We don't even need to plug Deep Cuts because Deep Cuts is far bigger than we are, but
pretty much
go listen to Deep Cuts' opinions.
Yeah, everyone who's subscribed to us is probably subscribed to Deep Cuts.
Also, Stacey. Good old Stacey. Best Stacey in the world. I don't know a Stacey that's better.
This is true. Actually, Stacey was talking to me the other day saying that so many Staceys on TV are knobs. So she is the best Stacey.
I can't think of a single Stacey other than good Stacey. I can think of Stacey's mom who's got it going on.
Oh,
she's all I want, and I've waited for so long.
Did you know that what's the last year of senior school? The last year of senior school, year 11, we put a band together and did an audition for like the school talent show, and I sung that song with a band.
Oh, Joe.
He didn't let us on. But yeah, that was fun. That was fun.
I feel like we should actually say what her podcast is called.
Oh, Stacey's Pop Culture Parlour. And she also does Stace and Barry in the morning and podcast in a half shell. She likes doing all sorts of nerdy stuff.
She does more stuff than us. She's more dedicated. And actually, she's probably better, let's be honest. Yeah. If you put a gun against your head and you have to choose her or us, please choose her. All that's left to plug is our good friend James Alcock and our other good friend Charlie Gardner.
Yeah, two great people.
Yeah. They're great. Yeah. Just wanted to tell you how great they are. They definitely don't have a comedy program, and those are definitely their last names.
Anyone else you want to plug? I don't know. My mum's pretty great.
Yeah.
So
my girlfriend.
And with that, I think we'll close this podcast then. So goodbye.
We leave you with Joe's amazing cover.
Yeah, amazing, a bit of a overstatement, but yeah, we'll see you next time.
Until next time, where we will be talking about Bjork.
I'm so excited.
Joe's
Don't you dare let me down.
Going to definitely put that in his top 5, no matter how good it is.
I just want it to be good so much. If it's bad, that makes me anxious.
It won't be bad, don't worry. Bye.
Bye.
I'm on a star and you're on Neptune. Blue as the tears that fall from my eyes, looking down on earth as you monopolize. 'Cause I'll breathe alone and I'll sleep alone and I'll eat alone and I'll laugh alone, 'cause I'm in the zone with my lovely bones and you'll cry alone on the lonely road. 'Cause I'll breathe alone and I'll sleep alone and I'll eat alone and I'll laugh alone, 'cause I'm in the zone with my lovely bones and you'll cry alone on the lonely road.